wrapping, right? Because the two of us can talk forever, right? Let's
doubt.
bring it let's bring it back to us. Let's bring it back to us as brothers, as black men, during this time that we're in, this time of, introspection. And one of the things that we've spoken about before is that thing of, while we are in the home, alone or with our families in particular and our partners, and that feeling of feeling trapped, and what the feeling of a lockdown and movement or restriction of movement, what it does to us. You spoke earlier about the reminder of a particular time when you were not able to move, and now here you are,
Right.
not able to move.
Right. Yes. I mean, I think the most dangerous aspect of this for us as black men, whether we're experiencing this in, let's say, the United States or experiencing this in South Africa, most of our history has been locked down. If you're in the United States and you go back to the history of slavery, there was restrictions on your movement. If they found you moving from this plantation to go visit, the woman you were with on another plantation, you needed to have papers. They needed to know which white man accounted for you. Apartheid, if they found you moving at this, from here to here, at this hour of night, that could be the last time anybody saw you. So we've come from systems where restriction of movement has always been labor intensive on our spirits. And it's going to tend to make us angry, because irregardless, our consciousness knows this decision, it may be the best thing for us right now, but this decision wasn't, nobody asked us. Nobody ever asked us.
Before you continue, I want to
get put in place.
I want to make something very, very clear, because this has also been a debate in South Africa right now, where some have tried to create the impression or draw similarities between apartheid and the restrictions that we have now, which is far from it, right? So it is in no way similarities that we're drawing, but what we are speaking about, I think what I'm hearing you talk about, is how this period of restriction, as noble and important as it is, psychologically, it brings up certain things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we always have to deal with what's happening in our conscious mind, what's happening in our subliminal mind, and what's happening in our spirit. And we have to figure out all three of them. And all of our experiences are tied to history. We're having this conversation in English as two black men. That's tied to history. So we have to ask ourselves, what part of this moment that we're in is working on me that's specific to this moment, and what part of this is working on me that's working on a cellular level because I'm tied to the history of my ancestors and all that has happened before. And for us as black men, if you're talking Malawi, almost all of the men from my village in Malawi, in Mangochi, went off to work in South African mines, and they were always that song Hugh Masekela talks about, the train moving from Malawi. Stimela, exactly. Like, they were always being moved from one place to another and creating lives in different places and having multiple lives back and forth and so forth. So the idea of being stationary, as we mentioned earlier, is it's never had any positive associations. And we are going to have to, in this time period, find ways to make it positive for ourselves, because if it's always painful, that child watching us in the house is going to be in pain. We ourselves are going to be in pain. We have to find some way to be at peace with being stationary. And I'm not saying I have the answer to that, because for each man, that's going to be difficult and different work. But one of the things I know is this. we will face our children on the other side of this, and they will be fundamentally different kids, because whatever this is will now mark their childhood like 1976 marked childhood for certain people, like 1992 in the United States marked childhood for certain people, and it will always be an aspect of a reference point. And if they can remember it as, that was the time where daddy told me stories in the house, where we wrote raps together in the house, and the daddy beatboxed, and I had, if all of those different little positive associations that come out of what we do or what we show them in this time are going to have resonance for their whole lives. I know this already because my son, he went through 9/11 in New York as like a 3-4-year-old kid, super young, but he still remembers certain feelings that went with that, clear as day. You know, there are people watching us. There are people
so
watching
important.
us.
You know, what you're raising is so important, because I suppose as parents, as adults, we carry on with life, and especially if some of us who grew up during apartheid, and then there was a transition in South Africa, and then there was that interaction and integration and life in general, and then you become a father, and then, you know, that comes with its own things, and then, you know, you become a husband or whatever. We have lived certain moments in time, and because life must carry on regardless, we sometimes tend to not necessarily take note of those historical moments. But there is a need to be conscious of what is happening right now and the impact it has on our kids, who would, as you're saying, at some point in the future reflect on, 2019, 2020, this is what happened when we were under lockdown. And that's what happened during that time. In the same way, today, I'm able to talk to my daughters about, you know, growing up in the 1980s during apartheid South Africa, or telling them the story of their birth. Historical moments when life changed.
1994, what that whole period meant to a certain group of people. And, you know, we deal with the kids who were born after that. We give them a certain name, you know what I mean? And the kids that were born, that's like a AD, BC kind of moment, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and the same in Malawi, it's the same in Malawi, because it was right around the time that things changed in Malawi, almost right after South Africa. So we do have to be aware, this is that moment in these kids' lives, and they're going to know the difference between themselves and the kids born after this, you know. And there's certain ways the kids born after this that are going to act, that the young ones who grew up through this are going to look at them a little differently, like, oh, you assume that things are going to stay all good because you haven't experienced, you know, lockdown. You know,
a shift in consciousness.
Yeah.
Yo.
And I hope to God we make the best of it, because I do think it's an opportunity. When I look outside right now, there's birds singing in my neighborhood that I hadn't heard before, which is obvious that certain things have come back into this area. I have friends in other parts of the world who are saying, yo, there's dolphins in this whole area in Florida where they haven't seen them in 20 years. There's kids in China writing about how they've seen a blue sky for the first time in their life. You know, there's people in LA who've had asthma who are not experiencing asthmatic symptoms because the air is finally clean, you know. So there's all of these other things that can be learned from it, that we have to really ask ourselves, are we going to allow it to snap back? And I don't think those kids in China who, you know.
On that, that is what I've been asking myself, and in conversations with other friends, of considering the change, considering how nature is responding to the fact that we all in our homes. What are the lessons that we're going to come out of with, are we going to go back to making sure that the kid in China does not see a blue sky anymore? Are we going to making sure that the dolphins go away, the birds that you're hearing go away? What lessons are we going to come out of this with that change how we are as people?
Here's what I'd like to warn everybody about. That kid who's seen that blue sky in China, he's not going to forget seeing that blue sky in China. And he may come out fighting for that blue sky over a generation or two in a way that you never even predicted, because he's seen something that you were trying to hide from him. And so as a result of it, that's the other thing. What this is going to do, what the youth are going to decide to do with this moment and what it's meant and what they've seen, especially if they come to understanding that a lot of this has something to do with climate change and what the way we've chosen to live life. I think that we're going to see a battle between the young and the old over the next 20 years, where they had already been, the Gretas and all this have already been fighting for the environment, and for them now to see, it was an idea in their head, but for them now to see the result of us backing off of this lifestyle, for them it's a huge blessing. It's a huge blessing, and I don't think we're gonna be able to make them come back to it. It's gonna be a fight, and we're gonna lose that fight, and I'm happy we're gonna lose that fight, you know?
Bro, we can talk forever. Let's just wrap like this. Share with people what you're doing right now, where they can access your music.
Man, I don't know what you just said, but knowing you, you probably said if there was anything, last thing I wanted to say.
No,
this is bad.
This is what I'm asking. To wrap, tell people what you're doing, where they can access your music.
Oh, with the music?
Yeah.
What's next?
Where can we find your music?
Oh, where can I find my music? Well, right now, every Monday, I'm doing Facebook Live. Every Monday, it's going to be harder for folks in South Africa, but maybe what we can do is I'm going to let you know, but I want to do one specifically for Africa, where I get up early in the morning here and do a live performance that can be seen, you know, at 7 p.m. evening time, where y'all are at. So let me pick a day right now and just go ahead and say I'll be doing one. I'm going to do a Wednesday at, today's the 7th. So on the 15th, I'm going to be trying to make sure I play early in the day here in Southern Africa, in Costa Rica, so that you can see me at like 7 in the evening in South Africa. And I'm going to do it on Instagram. You can find me at Masauko Music, at Masauko Music, Masauko Music. And please do follow me. And much love to everybody. Let me see if I can leave you with one other song idea. Because a lot of stuff is getting written in this time period. Okay. This one's called, I'm going to pull out the microphone so I can hold it and feel like I MC.
All right, okay, cool.
This one's called Intrinsically Tied. I hope the sound doesn't suck. It goes like this. I'm going to do it slow so you can hear it. It says, my hurt hurts like your hurt hurts, but y'all still don't see how the whole thing works. Same blood, same stream of thought that we're swimming in. Criminalized bodies, broken system, looking for love, hiding from love, trying to find answers to all of the above, but the gods that we praise just can't get along. We move through society together alone, intrinsically tied. This truth has been denied. Now we see the thing from separate sides. How many of us must die for us to stop counting bodies and start counting on each other? I'm the keeper of my brother, but my brother keeps keeping me down. I'm trying to reach him here with the sound. I'm trying to reach him here through the sound. I'm trying to reach him here. Then it goes something like, show me something better than the beating we've been taking, aching for a new relation, but the world's been overtaken by the ones who steal the life from seas. Hate the planet more than greed, obsessed with yields and outcomes, more so than hearts and hand drums, tied by the way that we walk the streets, looking over our shoulders and creeping, wishing we were much more free, tied by the things that make us smile, an MC with more substance and style, a friend that goes that extra mile, that's coquetto, tied by the ancestors under the sea and the dreams they hold for you and me. That's why I pray for you, and that's why I pray for you daily, intrinsically tied. It ain't finished yet, but it's going in that direction.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave this with just drawing one of the lines from that I think is so relevant right now, even more so. We need to stop counting bodies and start counting on each other.
That's the most important line in the song, bro.
Peace and love, man. Peace and love.
Soon. Peace.